Sejin, have I got the opportunity of a lifetime for you?
Oh, we're doing
What
this.
would
Okay.
you do if I could tell you you could play video games without a console of any type? All it would require is what I have been told is an antenna and a controller in your hands.
Well, I'd say you must be kidding. In this day and age,
Sir, let me tell you, how much would you pay for this type of honor?
yeah, I'm standing by my $200. It really, if it's more than $200, I'm out.
Well, I can tell you I can put you in a fresh new Google Stadia for just $129.99. That's less the tax. Final coming out of your pocket today, $138.08. Tell me, Sejin, do we have a deal?
I don't think you actually know the tax rate in my area, so no, I'm gonna walk away from this one.
That's probably true. Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the Say Report. I'm your host, Devin Decker, and the non-rube. I really thought I was going to sell you on this. I thought I had my triangle power hands. I had
Not
my
yet.
stands, and
Yeah, I'm not there yet, and we'll talk about why I'm not there yet.
oh yeah,
But,
don't worry. Obviously we're going to talk about Stadia tonight. It's not the title of the episode, I don't think, but I was
Yes.
one of the brave founders who embarked on a journey into
Oh, really?
the world of Stadia.
So if you're a founder, then that means you'll be getting the product 3 months from now. Is that what the deal is?
I actually received it on Saturday. They said I wasn't going to
What?
have it till December, but I received it on Saturday.
Is it a way to like throw people off? Like, yeah, just fucking with you. Like, now you're happy you have it, right?
Honestly, I was happy I had it. I was a little nervous that the reason that there was a delay was because, we didn't have any founders left, so we just sent you the white version. But no, I got the Midnight Blue controller, and it says Founders Edition on the
Nice.
box. It's going to be a great collectible in my video game Hall of Fame or Hall of
Your
Shame.
video game graveyard, maybe.
Yeah, it's going to go right next to my Ouya and my N-Gage, my
man.
Tiger.com, Game.com.
Virtual Boy in that basement. I bet you got a Virtual
I
Boy.
don't have a
somewhere.
Virtual Boy in this basement. I've never been able to find one like intact enough. It's
Yeah.
always missing one piece, and
Yeah,
that breaks
fair
my
enough.
heart because I'd love to have a Virtual Boy down here.
It's for people throwing them across the room in rage.
I'd love to have
My
a Virtual
head.
Boy because I own Wario Land for the Virtual Boy, and that is honestly one of the best Wario Land games. Like,
Oh, man.
not even kidding. It is one of the best put together platformers in that series.
Fantastic.
Oh.
Holy shit. So you invested in a Stadia.
I invested in a Stadia because we have a podcast, and it felt like the kind of thing that we should do.
And out of the two of us, you were the one that felt this necessity, and I did not. But yeah, I stand by the idea that this could very easily go the way of Google Glass. So I'm not invested yet. I'm not even $129.99 invested yet.
Yeah, well, at least it's not $200. The
Yeah.
price was good. I'll be honest with that. I was excited about the price. And, it was something that I wanted to try because, honestly, if they could deliver on the promises, it'd be a hell of a deal.
Right.
And there's no two ways about that.
Yeah,
so
but I am a gamer, and I know the promises that video game makers make. So
yes, you're not wrong, Sejin. Here's the final review on. Well, no, not the final review on Stadia. I got a Chromecast Ultra, so that's the first time I've ever used a Google streaming apparatus at all.
yeah.
And it's fine. I didn't realize, I know that you've been trying to get it through my head for so long that it is literally just a UI that allows you to connect to it via whatever device you're holding. I thought that it had a little bit more brains in it, like an Amazon Fire Stick. And that was a big surprise to me that it basically can do nothing on its own.
Yeah, it's not intended to be a standalone product in the least. not even a little bit. There's not even a remote that comes with it to like turn it on, right? Like, yeah,
Right.
yeah, and so that's one of those things that makes it lives in a weird space because there's nothing else to really sell it besides like a Roku and a Fire Stick. When you go into Walmart, they're going to stock it somewhere, so obviously that's where they're going to stock it. But it really doesn't. It isn't doing what those things do, and that's unfortunate. But yeah, man. So you've got a Google Chrome product in your life.
So I have a Google Chrome product. It's technically my second, because I got a free Google Home Mini for signing up for Spotify Premium.
You can connect those two, if you still have the Mini.
I do still have the Mini. You can't connect them yet, or if you can connect it, all it can do is turn on the Stadia. It can't do anything else with Stadia at all.
No, I meant the Chromecast. Yes, with the Stadia. But the great thing about the Chromecast is you can yell at your Google to put on things on like Netflix and Hulu, and it can do that shit. It's fun.
That's cool.
YouTube too. Yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, it's going to be something to explore and experiment with, just on the side of Google, because I've just been using Amazon stuff mostly because the price was right. $24 to let it leak into my house and then slowly take over all the information that I give it. Like, I get it. Better than $50
Don't worry, you'll
for
be saved when we upload you to the cloud.
Oh, God. Ugh, that's scary. Ugh, I feel dirty. Why are you making Devin feel dirty? But yeah, so I have it, and I'm not going to spend money on games. The final verdict is I'm not going to buy any games in the Stadia storefront. Luckily, because I'm a pro member, that was part of the 129, I got 2 games for free. And game 1 is Destiny 2, and game 2 is Samurai Showdown from 2019. And
nice. Very nice selection.
Honestly, in terms of testing and putting it through its paces, I now know how good my internet is, because neither of those felt laggy. Lag is something that I could almost forgive in a first-person shooter, especially not PvP. I've just been doing PvE, doing missions in Destiny 2, and I've had no real issue with that at all. But a fighting game, if there's lag, you're going to know about it.
Right.
Because you want to hit the light button and have the character do the light attack.
Exactly.
So I was able to, I had no issue with that at all. The issue I did notice is now 2-3-year-old Destiny 2 runs beautiful. Like, it doesn't have any stutter or anything like that. But Samurai Showdown, a game from 2019, it does have some graphical slowdown that is noticeable.
Yeah.
But it doesn't affect the lag. Like, the big issue was, you have to send your button inputs, and then it's going to have to transcode them and send it over, and there's going to be lag. There has to be lag. There's no lag.
Yeah, well, I think the bigger worry was like we were discussing this a little off mic, but the idea that once you had to hook up to other people, and you see how well that works on the Switch right now, right? Where they were worried about whether or not the hardware could keep up with everybody's different internet issues, right? And so I'm glad that there's no lag in the game's single player modes or whatever coming in, but also on top of that, to hear that it's actually still working pretty well with multiplayer online, that is impressive to me. Like, I have to say, that is pretty impressive.
Well, I mean, that's just people frankly not understanding, and not you, just the world in general, that the reason why Switch has terrible internet, and the Switch has terrible internet, no one is going to deny that. You find me someone who denies that, I'd like to have a discussion with them about the reason why, is because that internet is peer-to-peer. So one person is the server. Right. So everything is feeding into them. Based on the whole, market of Stadia, they apparently have rows and rows of servers to handle this.
Well, they're using Google server, like straight up. They were making no qualms about no, all this information is going right through everything else we do. So anything you give us, it all goes together.
Exactly. Exactly. Yeah. But that's gonna be that's a dedicated server.
Right.
As opposed to a dedicated system that, frankly, what the Switch is able to accomplish blows my mind anyway.
Yeah.
But then, of course, turning that God, is it 1.5 inches thick? system.
Yeah, right.
Like
Not even like
into an
yeah.
antenna and asking at minimum 3 other people to join into what you're producing, like you're already setting up for a recipe of disaster.
Yeah.
And it's I mean, no, I understand that, it's I want to make sure that people understand. Like people said that about Stadia and I'm like, well, that's the least of my problems, right? I'm not
Right.
thinking that I'm going to get a dedicated server over
Yeah.
in some Google server farm, but those servers are running at, God, 50 times the capacity of what a
Yeah.
Nintendo Switch is running at.
That's being generous. Yes. Yeah.
Yeah. That's yeah. I didn't know how hyperbolic I could be about Google's processing power without it sounding like absurd. But
Let's put it. Let's let's put it this way. Google probably already has a planet on which they are going to upload us to. They're just currently like terraforming it for us, and then someday they're just, like that is the processing power of Google means they can make another Earth.
cool. That's terrifying.
hmm
Oh man, and I bought into that. But the big thing, the big selling point to me about Stadia and what I wanted to test was you can log in from any computer and get the same experience. And I thought, what better place to test that than overloaded college Wi-Fi?
Right. Fantastic.
And I just happened to be at a college for 35 hours a week.
Yeah, it's every streamer's worst nightmare though. It's like because they're the exact audience you need to hit, but fuck me, you can't break through that wall if you don't have the power.
If you don't do it. So I
Yeah.
understand that there are still thousands of people who were told you're going to get your device in November, and they're probably not going to get them until next year. I understand that is a true thing that is happening. I understand
right.
there are still people who didn't get the 16-digit code that is required to just use it on a computer. And that I did not pre-order early. I waited. I think I pre-ordered on October 10th,
Yeah.
where I'm like, it's worth trying out for me. I had some extra money from some like side jobs that I did, and I'm like, it's worth this to me to be able to test it out so I can talk about it here where we are right now. But I will say, even on college internet, with all of the people there, like during a high traffic thing, I was able to play Destiny 2, and it looked just as good as it did on my Chromecast Ultra. It immediately adapted to the fact that I was on a keyboard and mouse as opposed to the actual controller. It was impressive in terms of...
That's fantastic, man.
Yeah.
That is fantastic. Like I said, I am thoroughly impressed by what it can do. It still has not pitched me on owning the system though, and I think that comes down to what you mentioned before. The games aren't there yet, and I don't know if I don't know what their move is. Like, do they start opening studios to make games for themselves? Do they combine with Steam at some point? Like, what do they do?
Yeah. It's not even that the games aren't there in the sense that you mean it. It's the fact that if it goes the way of Google Glass, what
Right.
happens to games that I bought? Since it all is just stored in a server.
Right.
Like, I'm technically renting or leasing a game if I buy it from Google Stadia.
That's
I
the
mean-
secret, though, Devin. That's basically how digital content works across the board.
No, I know that, and I understand that. But, like, with the PlayStation, I'm holding a disc now for Resident Evil 4.
Right.
I mean, like, Switch games, sorry, Nintendo, but I don't buy Switch games digital unless they're
Yeah.
only available digitally. If
Yeah.
I can have a physical copy of it on my Switch, I'm going to do that. If not just for the fact that I want to be able to play it, I have multiple Switches in my house.
Yeah.
And they have issues with like digital stuff in a way that like the PlayStation network and universe does not.
hmm
So I'd rather, here, just take the cart and you can play the game.
Yeah.
Or
Yeah, no, I totally get that, but like in terms of digital content, like take it as a guy that lost PT. Like I was so pissed. My hard drive crashed on my PS4 one time, and so I had to do an entire reboot on the system. And because of that, I lost PT. I was so pissed. It was like the only thing I was like, I can recover A, B, C, and D. Yeah, I'm good. Oh fuck, I can't get that stupid fucking game back.
Right. We just have too many examples of it. And like Apple tearing down songs. I leased Songs You Know by Heart by Jimmy Buffett. But then once Apple Music happened, I own every song on that except for song number 2. And if I can't buy that song separately, I'd have to rebuy the entire album at a higher price than what I initially paid for it to get it back.
Because the rights reverted and then got sold back to Apple.
Yeah.
That's fucking cool.
It's just like, and I looked up the receipt. I'm like, I bought this. Like I own this.
Do you know what the killer about that is? Is like you think about that story because clearly they lost the license and then they were able to get it back sans that one track, right?
Right.
So like this could have been just a day, like a guy having a bad day and not getting paperwork in on time. Like, oh shit, they lost the rights for one day. Like, and then all of a sudden this happens.
Yeah.
And that means that you can't have that song anymore, all because somebody in an office somewhere just like fucked something up one day.
I mean, I have the song still. I own multiple copies of that in other forms. But I think about, I discovered Survivor was more than just Eye of the Tiger like 3 years ago. Vital Signs is probably one of the best albums ever. And I have just like, I've always wanted to buy Can't Hold Back. Like, I freaking love that song. It just gets me going. But I'm like, $1.29 is so expensive to buy this song. It chances of like, I might lose it. Like, Apple might say, yeah, you paid us, but like, you have to pay us again if you want to listen to it again. I'll just go on YouTube and listen there, or like Spotify. I'll shuffle along and maybe it'll come up if I shuffle this album. But I went
to get a pretty decent like way of handling this. Just to point out that there are people that are doing it right. You mentioned PlayStation's got some good stuff that it does, but Amazon actually does a really decent job in one field in particular. When you are like me and throughout your entire collegiate life you have like 3 or 4 different email addresses and then therefore 3 or 4 different Amazon accounts, I actually found out a way to combine them. Like, if you could, like, prove that you were the same owner on both, which, I mean, there's a lot of ways to do that, like cards and stuff like that. Like, you could actually combine libraries. And I don't know if it's a thing that you can do, like, all the time or if it's, like, a one-time only deal. But it helped me the fuck out a lot because I had, like, 3 accounts going. And I was so worried because I was like, oh, man, I'm signed into this one. And I don't remember which one this video's on, which one that video's on. And that was pretty awesome.
Yeah, I've had the same email address since 10th grade. So... yeah. So just for the record, 2002, and I just have used that for almost everything, and I am just like, how
do you maintain that inbox, brother?
Oh, dude, I gotta say, I once took off a week from like all the jobs that I was working to clear out that inbox, and now I just stay on top of it. And now I just stay on top of it. I currently have 9 unread messages, and I do the junk mail like 3 times a day. It's crazy. Wow. It's just
okay.
It's if you're dedicated to it, you can make it work for you. I am not.
It's I don't. People don't email me enough right now for that to be a thing that I'd be dedicated to.
Yeah, it's just one of those things that
when the time comes, I'll just make another email.
Right. And don't think that I don't have millions of little emails. Like anytime I had like an idea for like a creative endeavor, I made sure to get the Gmail and the Twitter. But, you know, I have those as well, which, you know, it's just a thing. But, yeah, so just to end the Stadia thing, I'm not going to pay money for games. I've done the initial investment. I'll get 3 months of the Pro, and I'll see if after those 3 months it's worth paying. I think it's like only $10 a month, which I've flirted with getting, like, Game Pass from Xbox, but I have an old Xbox One. And there's part of me that would want to get, like, the redesigned one if I were going to be using it a lot.
No, man. I honestly, at this point, would recommend in any of these situations just waiting next gen.
Yes.
I think,
obviously.
Yeah. Right. Well, that's what I mean, right? So, like, invest in next gen and get Xbox and get the whatever they call their next online endeavor. Like, you know what I mean? Yeah. Like, I think that's the way to go.
Yeah, Game Pass is great. And the other thing is, as much as everybody's like down on Stadia, PlayStation released that whole reminder about PlayStation Now and their streaming capabilities, which means that they were working on it knowing that they wanted to be an alternative to this basically untested field that Google decided to dip their toe into.
No, and because there's also a lot of evidence throughout history of people buying in, for like early adopters, but then there's always a pushback on that wave where like a few of those people will then leave, a number of those people will leave and run to whatever safe endeavor. I mean, why am I stuck on that word? Anyway, so like they're banking on the idea that like the people that jump in on Google Stadia and then in jumping in realize they may have made a mistake, like aren't willing to stick it out, they're going to run to the first safe harbor they find, which is going to be PlayStation with PlayStation Now, right? Like they're making a lot of smart moves for sure.
Yeah. But meanwhile, I'm sitting there like, I might get another Stadia controller. Like, I want to have two because I want to have someone to play Samurai Showdown with. I'm hoping for a Black Friday sale. Like, even if they just knock off
test of the lag.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And because that's definitely a thing. And the Mint controller is out there, and it's like, I have the two. I put them together into the hall of, video game misfits, because it exists. I have a bunch of stuff I have a Nomad. Like, why do I have a Sega Nomad? It was not great.
What if this thing takes off though, man? What if the Stadia just takes off though? That'd be good.
Then I'd be very happy, because I got to tell you, it was cool sitting in a computer that like the specs aren't great and playing Destiny as if I were playing on my PS4 Pro at home.
That is really cool.
It was awesome, and I couldn't believe it. I'm like, I thought that this was going to be a trash fire, considering I'm on a network where like it's a bunch of college students.
Yeah.
I'm sharing a network with, I know what I was doing in college.
Man. Excellent.
Yeah. So that's that. And
But I just feel like this is like the week that the Say Report sells out, because we just spent all that time talking about Google, and now we got to talk about some Facebook stuff.
Oh God, you actually did your homework?
Yeah. What do you mean I actually did my homework?
I don't know. The fact of the matter is, why don't you tell a little bit, and then I will give you what my thought process was on this whole thing.
Oh, so the other day, Devin mentioned to me that there was a new thing that Facebook was doing called Facebook Watch, and this was probably not new. I feel like I'm like a 50-year-old man who's just discovered the internet.
October. It premiered in October. For
the show, or Facebook Watch did?
Facebook Watch really like stepped out properly in October in terms of them doing their own original programming.
Okay.
Like it was always a place where they had people, and because you could like stream to Facebook and it was like Twitch in that way, but October is when they said we're going to buckle down and do our own unique content, because they wanted to get to market before Disney did.
Well, good for them, because ain't nobody out here heard of it.
I believe that.
Yeah, man. So Devin mentioned like, hey, they're doing this thing and they're doing original programming. You should check something out. So because like he plowed through a particular show on there. Now I hope I watched the right one. You said The Birch, right?
The Birch, yes.
Okay, all right, excellent, good. So I did watch the right one. Yeah. So.
Oh, I'm so happy you watched The Birch.
So what the fuck, man?
All right. So I promised I would give
my French, but fuck you. What is going on?
All right. Before we go into fuck me and what's going on, the backstory behind this is Frag. Even though I've done multiple stories about Frag, and it's hit or miss. The best thing that came out of it is that I fell in with a gang of brutes living in Connecticut. And so I hang out with them a lot. So Saturday morning we get together, and one of them is wearing a shirt. It was Jake. It was my friend Jake, for The Birch. And I'm like, what's The Birch? And he goes, I don't know. So I look at his shirt and I see that it's on Facebook Watch, and I'm like, well, we should check it out, right? If you're going to wear the shirt, you need to know what it's about. And they're like, oh, we took pictures with The Birch. Like, it was a whole thing, because they went to New York Comic Con. So they had all this information about The Birch. at the beginning of October.
That's
and
wild.
That's what got me and they didn't watch it. They didn't even know. They just wore the shirt. It's a nice looking shirt. I am upset that I don't own a Birch shirt. But we sat down and we watched 2 episodes, and it was like this moment where like, oh, either we leave now and go do something out in the world, or we're going to sit here and watch the rest of the Birch. So we went out to Goodwill, which, to tie into that Survivor thing, I bought a copy of Vital Signs for $1. And the only thing that can ruin that is like age or like fumbly hands. Mm-hmm. So go to Goodwill for music. It's $1 for most albums. And then we went to Chinese buffet, and then we went and we watched almost all of the Birch. We had 2 episodes left because I had something I needed to do at 5 o'clock, which maybe we'll get to in this episode. Who knows?
Boom, boom, boom.
But Sijin, the reason why is I could not shake this feeling that I was living a creepypasta with the Birch.
Okay. I can get behind this. Yes. All right. Yeah, man. So I start watching this thing, and I'm just like, oh, this is rather well shot, and this is really good. And I mean, like, I'm buying in. And it's only 16 minutes and some odd seconds. One episode's only 11 minutes. One episode's 17. So
yeah,
I'm like,
it goes
okay.
From the shortest is 11. The longest is 20.
Yeah, so like they're doing the Netflix thing of letting the content have its own length, but they're also doing their own thing in that length is much shorter. Like I can't think of a live action thriller show on Netflix that is shorter than the half an hour length. It also gave me a couple of like weird vibes of like early Sabrina in the new Chilling Adventures of Sabrina on Netflix. So yeah, so it was hitting a lot of the right buttons. And then like there's moments where the reason it starts to feel creepy to me, and I don't think this is on purpose, is that there is a moment where the budget starts to show. Like they clearly spent a lot of money on talent, but the budget really starts to show, and like the CGI looks almost a little like Disney Channel original movie level. And I only say that because I've been watching a ton of those lately.
Yep.
And then like so that's a little weird, and I've only watched the first episode, so I did not get close-ups or anything like that, but the costuming from a distance on the Birch looks like something somebody wore to Comic-Con. Let me put it that way. Like there is a level of homemadeness to it that I was not ready for, considering how elevated the rest of the show had kind of been to that point. Yeah, so there's this weird like uncanny like disconnect in like some of the effects, matched with like this high quality like footage, matched with the fact that I did not full screen it, so I'm watching it framed by Facebook. Like it was all just fucking surreal. It was just so weird.
Yeah, it feels so. Backstory on the Birch is it was a short film that won a Webby Award in 2017.
That makes a ton of sense. The entire time I was like, this feels like a small indie film. Like if I had gone to the horror film fest that they used to do for the Rhode Island Film Fest. Oh, yeah.
So it's that, and then it got, because it was so prominent, Facebook was like, we want to develop it into a series. So I haven't seen the short. I want to finish the series on Netflix before I go and seek out the short, because I don't want anything to affect how I feel about it. The other thing is, it has a really wonky release schedule. And I know this because I was trying to figure out when the finale was going to premiere. And they've been releasing like 2-3 episodes every week. So you talk about the length. That first episode is only 60 minutes, but it also followed up with 2 other episodes.
Right.
So you could get a satisfying story that first day that they dropped, which was, and I know this from Jake's shirt, October 18th, 2019.
Nice.
And then like I was looking for it and I found their Facebook page, and I got to tell you, for a Facebook show, the Birch's Facebook page, not very good. Like I figured that on Saturday they would have like when to expect the next episode. Or like going through, I might be able to like just in the info section, the Birch is a horror suspense original series on Facebook. New episodes drop every Friday, but it doesn't have that information, so I have no idea.
It's a Facebook. I mean, how do you not have a Facebook page manager as like top of the fucking list for that show?
Right.
Like, how do you? What? That is bizarre.
It's crazy. Like the closest thing I got to release information was last Wednesday. They said, Evie is going to have to face the ultimate decision. Make sure you tune into 2 new episodes of The Birch this Friday. And I'm like, so 2 days before, and it's on IMDb, so I see that it's been releasing on Fridays. So I have like a pretty good idea that the finale stuff's gonna be like, we're gonna drop on Black Friday. So after you're done with your shopping, come home and watch The Birch. But
I guess
it's just
they're putting a lot of faith on the audience in that marketing. That's like a weird, unnecessary amount of faith in your audience.
Okay, well, and that's where it started to feel like a creepy, like, sort of thing to me. Is after we had gone through 9 episodes. What?
You've gone too deep. You will become the Birch.
That's the fear. That's what I said. 9 episodes in, we were craving Birch beer, so we went out to the store to buy Birch beer. And we couldn't, we didn't have any at the first store. And then we went to the second store, and the drive from the first to second store is when I got onto the page. And I'm like, oh, here's a fan page for The Birch. So, like, even if the original page isn't given information, one would hope that the fan page, people are talking about, like, what they're going to do for their watch party and stuff. And they had been having, like, Facebook-hosted watch parties of the show, so that people could get together and do it. There's 320,000 likes for The Birch.
Jeebs.
Yeah, right? Like,
send some of that this way, you stupid tree.
Well, I think we just need to say the little speech, right? Come and become and break the one. Take this lighter.
Yeah, something like that. Break the one that take the one that breaks me, I think is the line. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know it. I've heard
you sing a really good rock song and then the Birch comes out and saves you. That's what happens.
It's awesome.
Yeah, it's pretty awesome.
But I go to that page and I'm like, I don't want to, and it's a closed group, so I could see like things, and they're like, but you need to join the group, and I'm like, I don't want to join the group. Like, I don't want to. And then I was with my friend Justin, Jake's brother, and he's like, nah, man, you've been to the page. Like, everything you post on Facebook from now on is going to be like, and a tag in the bottom is like, and watch The Birch on Facebook Watch. Like, he's like, you're in there. And I'm like, I'm afraid that, like, my face is going to show up on The Birch now. Like, I'm going to become The Birch. As we're sitting there talking about, like, so we're gonna have a screening party for the finale. We're gonna get a case of beer. We're just gonna go hard. We're gonna, like, party like it's college and watch the finale of The Birch.
I'm excited, man. Like I said, it's a really, really good show. Like, I don't feel that any of the stuff that I was criticizing earlier, like the quality stuff.
Yeah.
Of the production, I don't think that it takes away from the quality of the show at all. Like, it's extremely interesting. And the whole backstory is fascinating. Like it's just it's a good little piece of entertainment.
You haven't even gotten to the best part in just watching the first episode, because the second episode, completely different cast of characters.
Oh my god!
And it's not. And I'm just like, oh god, I don't know what this is, and that. And then the third one, it joins back in with Evie, Ryan, Wes, and Thurston. So like, and it's just really interesting storytelling. Like you said, it's low budget or it's a smaller budget production.
But it's not. Which
I know,
weird.
right.
But yes, yeah.
But it is. Yeah. But because it's influenced by that, like it's what was it?
Yeah, it's a risk. It's a risk for Facebook. So it's got a risk budget, which if it does as good as it seems to be doing, maybe it'll get better with season 2.
Right. But the thing that I'm trying to say is that because it's coming from this idea of, like, this is a short film that we're making for the internet, it's influenced by that. So one of the big things of storytelling is vantage point-esque POV. So you'll see the same scene again, but you'll see it from a different person's perspective, or like where they were at leading up to it. And it ends up being just, like, really cool storytelling, because you've seen the first episode, and spoilers for the first episode of The Birch on Facebook Watch. Did you even know it existed? The whole scene in the cemetery where the 3 guys pin Evie down and rough her up. You see the third episode starts with that scene under the bridge with the dead guy and how it got to that.
Yeah.
So it's like
I imagine that we were going to learn more about that. I didn't realize they were doing straight up overlapping timelines. That's pretty cool.
yeah, and it works exceptionally. And then that stuff that's introduced in the second episode, like you drift into it every few episodes, and I'm like pretty sure that stuff is feeding into where the Birch actually originated and where it came from. Weird. So it's such cool and it keeps me on the edge of my seat, and like it's pretty gruesome for a show that by all accounts is rated TV-14.
Yeah, that's it looked like it had some potential for some real fucked upness. But yeah, man, I'm glad that you introduced it to me.
Yeah. So did you just watch it on your phone?
No, on my computer. Sat down and watched it on the computer.
You can cast it. I cast it from
Nice.
my iPhone to their TV, their 75-inch TV. Like,
fucking tastic.
And I was just like, this is crazy. And we just tore through it because I love it. But also it's like, is this real? Does this show really exist? Or is it just Jake was given the shirt so that I would find it and now they're going to come get me?
Yeah, right. Your friends from Connecticut. You've never had any friends in Connecticut.
Devin, there is no Connecticut. What are you talking about? There are 49. You've always been the
Birch, Devin.
And, talking about that, it's definitely one of those productions where they have different costumes for the Birch depending on the shot. So
yeah.
No.
Yeah, no. It's yeah. They don't show much of it, and it's very, very, very tactfully at a distance. So like, the only reason I was even noticing it is because it was such a good quality shot.
Yeah, like it's
if they had just soft focused it even a little bit and made it just kind of like out of focus, I wouldn't have noticed that the costume was a little meh.
I also like that it's clearly a lady. I have no proof doing that, but they did some nice stuff to make it feminine as a birch tree monster.
Well, I think that's also present in the storytelling, right?
Yeah.
Is that yeah?
They call it a she, and it's a lot of mother talk about what the birch is. But yeah, it's good. I really dig it.
Cool, man. Guess what? I've been digging a new web show too.
Oh God, what's that?
I've been so fucking deep in The Mandalorian. It's so good.
I fucked up. We were going to talk about Disney Plus, and I did not watch any Mandalorian, and that was my plan for today.
It's fine, because you get to watch it now, and I'm very jealous that you get to watch it for the first time now. It's just so cool. It's just a cool show. This is okay. The thing is like, I don't know if we've ever really talked too deeply about this before. We probably have. We talk about Star Wars a lot. I am not a huge Star Wars nerd. Like, it's not my fantasy, my sci-fi fantasy of choice. Like, but I respect the hell out of it, and I do like really enjoy it. So like, it's really weird because it feels like with Star Wars, when you tell somebody that you like Star Wars, they suddenly that's your entire fucking like nerd identity to them, right? Like everything they buy you is a freaking Wookiee. Like it's crazy.
My father expressed interest in BB-8 during a Force Awakens trailer. Every gift that I have given him since that day has had BB-8 on it in some way, shape, or form. Mostly because I think it's hilarious that I buy him like shirts and jackets and stuff that have this character on it. So I've sort of turned him into a television character who like always has a BB-8 themed thing on him. And
but there's an intelligence to that I can respect.
Yeah. Oh, and he loves it too. Like, he's just like, I don't know, I said I liked the character once, and then suddenly I got a Boston Red Sox shirt with BB-8 on it.
Oh, that's fantastic, man.
It's just fun. But yeah, you're not wrong. Is that it is
like nobody can kind of be okay with Star Wars. You have to fucking love it or get out.
Which has always been my issue with it, because as much as I enjoy them, it does not consume me. I was not one of those people who saw it in theaters when it re-released in 1997. We rented it from Brooks. Remember Brooks Drugstore? where it would eventually be the Hollywood Video I worked at, they rented videos in the back. And just one Saturday night, and my father's like, "Have you seen Star Wars?" And I'm like, "No." And he's like, "We're gonna rent it. I think you should watch it. It's an okay movie."
But yeah, so like I'm not coming so but like I think I probably enjoy it a lot more than it even sounds like you do. But that's the weird thing for me is like it's been really hard for me to admit to people that like I really enjoy Star Wars because I don't really enjoy Star Wars. I don't need a bunch of like fucking fan fiction books and all this nonsense. I don't care about the canon. When Disney said we're eliminating anything that was not the movies essentially, I was like, yeah, that makes sense. Everybody else was like losing their shit. And like I don't know, man. So coming from that standpoint, The Mandalorian is the first time that I have ever felt like, oh, I need to nerd the fuck out about this. Like I started doing research after watching that show. Like it was just it got me. And like you probably I I think you're going to enjoy what it's doing. I think you're going to realize why I enjoy it so much when you watch it because man, it's
that was my plan for today. My plan for today was to watch The Mandalorian, but and you're going to hear about this on Say Report Jr., shill for Say Report Jr., Dale rewatched Ready Player One with a friend who was in town who hates the book and was like, I need to watch the movie, but I can't do it alone. I need you to watch it with me. Mm-hmm. And I could get a trial of Cinemax through Amazon for a week. Yeah. So then there's more, and I'm like, I gotta watch stuff that's on Cinemax. I can't not watch things that are on Cinemax this week that I have it for free. Yeah, so yeah.
Excuses.
Yeah. I can't. And I gotta tell you, I watched a movie today, and it made me super happy that I watched that movie. I don't remember what the movie was right now, and it.
See.
I can see the poster. Talk more about The Mandalorian a little bit, and then I'll get to what the movie was. Oh, it was The Nice Guys. Russell Crowe, and that was fun because I'd only been seeing the plane edit of that movie because for some reason I'd been like going to hotels and it would be free to watch, but it was not the real version of The Nice Guys.
Okay, yeah.
It was the airplane edit. And oh my God, the stuff that they change is ridiculous. And I like knew it, but I had forgotten what the original lines were.
Awesome. Fantastic, man.
So The Mandalorian is definitely something I'm interested in, and not just because Gizmo's puppet has been reconstructed into a baby of Yoda's species.
There's just everything about it is so suited to basically like fan service, but it's so weird the way that it's the first piece of new Star Wars that feels like old Star Wars. You know, like it feels like every Star Wars movie that's come out since 2000 has been like, what can we do to make this feel like it's fresh and new? This is the first time where it feels like somebody went like, actually, let's look back at what the old ones were and let's just do something like that.
So Mandalorian would definitely still take that honor, but that's how I felt with Fallen Order. Is that it felt like this is just a guy, and we're gonna follow his story.
Yeah. And so there's that beautiful element to it where it just feels very classic and like I said, just fucking cool. Like the music in it is cool, the style is cool. Favreau wrote and directed the first episode. Like and it shows. Like there's a straight up montage where I turned to Tessa and I was like, oh, this is my favorite part of Iron Man. like but like the way that it decides to kind of present some of the lore of the world of Star Wars for the first time ever, like I really care about like things that happened before the characters that were on screen appeared. Like I could not tell you how much I did not really care about anything that happened before Luke and Vader and like in A New Hope. So the prequel series really I didn't want it. I didn't need it. Thanks. Bye. But like this is the first time where I'm like, oh, if this takes place in the past, or if at least it's harkening back to something in the past, I might need to go look into that, and like started looking into like the history of certain characters and stuff. And so yeah, I'm hooked on that. And it's funny because like I'm watching this and I've got 2 episodes that I've watched, another episode out there now. There might even be a 4th one at this point. But
the 3rd one just dropped. So
yeah. But I'm sitting there thinking like, if I only did just watch this one show, that would be $7 for just this one show for this month. I'd kind of be okay with that.
Yeah,
Like they
it'd be
kind of
less
made
than
good.
$1 an episode because it's going to be
Right,
eight
like
episodes. So
right. So it made the entire endeavor worth it. And I was very, very happy and suddenly realized that like, yeah, I think I'm okay with the Disney Plus thing. Like if this is the kind of stuff that they're going to be doling out and they're willing to stay at this price, we'll see if that sticks too.
yeah.
But I think they're doing a lot of really good stuff. There's definitely some things that are unfortunate. Their UI is a shit show, and anybody that compares it to Netflix doesn't know their fucking ass from their elbow. I'm like,
The thing is that it's like what Hulu was before Hulu had its like they revived Hulu last year,
yeah,
and it's like
hardcore redid the entire UI
yeah,
and search. Yeah,
but it's very similar to what Hulu was like before that happened.
yeah. Well, the worst part is things are just not working. So like if you go into all cartoon series, it will be missing things. Like for instance, original DuckTales. It'll have new DuckTales and it'll have new DuckTales shorts, but it won't have original DuckTales. Meanwhile, a couple of lines down, they definitely got Goof Troop up. They definitely had Chip and Dale Rescue Rangers up. So like you go searching for original DuckTales and boom, there it is. But then sometimes the search doesn't work. Earlier today, somebody was like, "What should I watch?" And I said, "Oh, you should watch Oliver and Company." I was just watching it last night, and I forgot how much I love that movie. So they went and they searched for it, and it didn't come up. And they were like, "Oh, it's not on here yet." And I was like, "No, I was literally just watching it." We went into the animated film section, and there it was. So I don't know why the search function didn't find it. Like how fucking broken do you have to be?
I was
Yeah.
reminded of Buzz Lightyear of Star Command earlier today, and I'm
Yeah.
like, I want to watch Buzz Lightyear of Star Command. That is a show that was way more serialized than it had any right to be
Yeah,
on
yeah,
a show that was shown in syndication where they don't give a shit about
order?
at
Yeah.
all.
Yeah.
And I used to watch that show Sunday mornings, and I absolutely loved it. And I'm like, that has to be around because it was part of Disney's One Saturday Morning. And I typed it in, and it didn't come up. But what did come up was Right on Track with Brie Larson. And I'm like, oh, I should add that to my list. But I exited away from it. So I'm like, well, I'll just search for Right on Track. And it didn't come up when I typed in the title of the movie.
Yeah.
But then I typed back in Buzz Lightyear of Star Command, and there was Right on Track. And I'm just like, what is happening?
I have a theory on why it's happening. It's not a great answer. Like it doesn't like make you feel good about it. But essentially, what's probably happening is Disney is trying to do this entire thing from the ground up on their own. And because if it works, that way they don't owe anything to anybody. What I mean by that is that usually when people create search engines now, they'll dive into like some freeware versions that are put out there by like Google. Google will give you access to some of their information about how they conduct searches so that you can build better search engines. And like you can even see sometimes if it's so much based on it, like some websites will say search powered by Google, like that whole thing. Like so that's what most websites will do if they have a search function is they'll buy into an existing one, and Disney's not doing that. They're clearly building their own from the ground up. And so from that there's going to be some glaring mistakes because they're starting from zero and they're not an internet company. They're fucking Disney. If anything, they've shown that they're very bad at coming into the like new technology when they should. Like look at everything that's ever happened to them in the video game industry. So I'm impressed with what it already is, but there's definitely some like pretty glaring issues with just the way that you get around that app.
My biggest issue on day one, was Gargoyles, because all of Gargoyles is on there, and that made me super happy. But I wanted to see if the band episode was not available.
Okay.
And the band episode is Deadly Premonition, Season 1, Episode 8.
It's the gun one, right?
It's the gun one, yes, the gun violence
yeah.
one. And Deadly Force, not Deadly Premonition, sorry. Deadly Force, where Broadway accidentally shoots Elise. And I went and I'm like, oh, it's there. That's awesome. But Episode 7 wasn't there. And I'm like, oh my God. Did they want to not include an episode?
And pick the wrong
but
one?
they like accidentally deleted the wrong episode.
Yeah.
Like, and I watched until the like very violent scene, because the reason why is not just that it's gun, it's that like they show her bleeding after she's shot, because they were like, we're not gonna like just graze this issue, we're gonna talk seriously about it.
I just realized how fucked up it truly is because you said it's like episode 8, right?
Yeah.
And that is actually only 3 episodes into
the
modern like
the show proper,
story,
because you have
because the first
the
5
pack.
episodes are the past.
Yeah, yeah, because episode 6 is the one that with the pack. Episode 7 is the one where Brooklyn rides the motorcycle, and Demona tries to convince him that humans will never love gargoyles, and then it's that. So it's crazy, like how soon in that show's run that came up.
They just shot it. They shot a main character and watched her bleed out. Yeah,
Right. But you kind of had to do it early because it was the gargoyles learning about the world. So
right.
if you did it any later than like the 3rd episode, Broadway should hopefully know how dangerous a gun is.
Well, right. And then like the other side of that is that you want to make sure your audience understands like, no, this is the show we're intending to do. Like this is a show that is all about things that are a little bit more fucked up than the rest of the Disney programming that you're watching.
This is
so,
this is part of Disney Afternoon, but we are hoping to age up with the people who've been watching since Gummy Bears.
Yeah. Yeah, man.
And but I was just like, oh my God, they deleted the wrong episode. And then I reloaded the page and there was episode 7. So it was just like an issue of like, for some reason, it wasn't loading that first day.
Oh, man.
But I'm just like, but that's so weird because it's so close to.
That goes hand in hand with all of the X-Men stuff that they're dealing with right now, and that's not entirely their fault. But Jesus, like what is it? The last half season of 3, and then the entirety of season 4 were never in order, and Disney just has not been able to figure out the proper order or something.
Yeah. Well, my favorite thing is that Frank Angones, the creator of DuckTales 2017, has been doing this great thing on Twitter where he reveals episode info, like tips and trivia about the episodes in the proper air order, and it's in protest of the fact that the show is not in the proper air order on Disney Plus. So he said that I'm going to be posting the proper order to watch the episodes with added trivia about them until Disney puts my show in its proper order. Because the biggest thing, and it's something we talked about when it premiered, is the Atlantis episode is episode 5 for some reason.
Yeah.
So, and a lot of stuff happens in that episode that, like, if you watched 4 episodes between the premiere and that, you're gonna be confused.
Yeah. Yeah, there's a bunch of smaller stuff like that too. Like there was the upset with some of the stuff with what's the show with the kids in the woods up in Oregon?
Gravity Falls. We talked about a little bit about
Falls.
that last week. Yeah.
The Gravity Falls stuff where they had to edit some episodes, but like there's been outside stuff that has had to do with that. So like it's Disney basically taking a huge swing to get itself onto a particular track. Whether or not it's the right track, I don't know. But it clearly has a goal in mind, and it has taken some hard swings to get there. Which is, if anybody's going to pull it off, it's going to be friggin' Disney, right? Like,
yeah, the fact that they delivered the product by the date that they set, that's already a victory.
Yeah, right.
But the big issue that I'm upset because I was really excited to see the Tailspin movie, because I've never seen it since the original airing of Tailspin.
Is it not the first episodes just strung together?
It's 4 episodes strung together, but the first episode that they have listed on Disney Plus, at least as of whatever the when I checked it, so like a week and a half ago, is the one where Baloo flies against the machine.
Oh, okay.
And that was the first episode on the DVD too. They didn't include the original pilot movie for Tailspin on any of the DVDs. It's the only reason I didn't buy the DVDs, because I know that you had them, and I remember pouring through them and being like, they don't have these episodes that like sets the whole scene for what the show
that's
is.
Fucking wild. That's like, really wild.
And the animation in that movie is awesome. Like, I love that so much, and I've wanted to watch it again for so long. And I'm like, I'm not surprised that it's not there. That just doesn't change the fact that it's disappointing.
Yeah, I think that more than anything, this has really shown me that Disney is not infallible, which I think a lot of people really. I think they've always known that, but like, it's people don't. People often say that where they're like, "This will be the Marvel movie that fails because Disney's not infallible," or "This will be the Pixar movie that fails because Disney's not infallible," and then they're proven wrong most of the time. This is the first time where I think I've noticed like, yep, they're gonna fuck some stuff up for sure, and they did. Like, I can't think of another product that they've let out the door that has had this many cracks in it. Again, outside of the video game realm, but even then, there's stuff to talk about.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's interesting to me because they're being so, I don't know, it seems almost cavalier about this release because they're so hell bent on being in this market.
Yeah, I don't know how to feel about it. Cuz it's just there's so much there, so it's already overwhelming. Every time I go on Disney Plus, I'm like, what am I going to do? And so far all I've watched is the first thing I watched was the monorail episode of The Simpsons. Because I'm like,
Nice.
I
Very
need
nice.
to see. I need to see if it's there. It's how I tested. It's widescreen, so they are cutting off jokes, unfortunately. But that'll probably change as time goes on. And then I watched that first episode of Tailspin because I wanted to see if it started with the first story or if it began with Baloo versus the Machine Man. I can't think of the name of it. It's such a good title too. And it upsets me that I can't think of it off the top of my head. And then I watched Tall Tale, the Pecos Bill movie with Patrick Swayze.
Well, and also
And Oliver Platt, because that's what he was doing. And I don't
but,
remember who plays John Henry.
But fucking John Henry, which you just watched the John Henry episode of Tailsman.
Yeah, basically, yeah. It was. That's a good point. You bring up a good point. But yeah, but I want to recommend Tall Tale. That's a movie that I don't think people remember. I love that movie, and it's like a young Nick Stahl, and it's crazy. And watching it as an adult, I'm like, oh man, there's like just no doubt in your mind what this movie is when you're an adult, but when you're a kid, oh my god. And I think it's sad. What watching that movie reminded me of is that American folk heroes have like gone extinct. And I mean that's what that movie is about. But it's set in like the Dust Bowl Wild West times. And people like have lost American folklore. But like looking at 2019, I don't think kids know who Pecos Bill is. I don't think Paul Bunyan is a name that people would recognize.
I bet that there is a select type of person in this world in this country that does, because like you got to come out here, man, where that's all that they talk about is the free west, and they talk about Manifest Destiny.
No, but I believe that. But my question is that like if the
like,
children,
like they Paul Bunyan is probably a thing. Pecos Bill, maybe not. Like I'll give you that. Like Pecos Bill, maybe not. But John Henry, like I mean, hell, even when I remember being in elementary school and having American folklore classes in the library where we would like watch like slides with audio cassettes and stuff like that. And I know that like there's still some of that going on. And like I said, especially because it becomes very regional nowadays. Like yeah, they probably don't hear too much about that stuff back in Rhode Island, but I bet you out here it's all that they hear about because they still go out to like Western shows and stuff here.
Yeah, I mean, I hope so. It's just one of those things that I was like thinking of, like, I bet that's not. Like, Johnny Appleseed was the big one because I was born in Leominster, Massachusetts, which is the birthplace of Johnny Appleseed. And, like, it says that on the sign when you get into Leominster, Mass. And it's like, I mean, that's the closest, like, folk hero I can think of from New England, but also you need to think of that New England, we have people who we know really existed
Roger
to like
Williams.
teach kids about.
Yeah,
like,
John Hunt. Yeah, man. Like, yeah. Well, and that's part of it too, is that so much of it is that we kind of had a turning point where we wanted to find real heroes, and for some of us that was guys like Roger Williams, and for other people it was not great. It's what leads to a lot of this weird shit with like Confederacy statues and stuff like that, is that we had a huge turn away from folk tales in the hopes of finding like real people to emulate. The problem is with real people is they suck. It's not like folk tales where you can like kind of write out the bad parts of the character. Kind of the point of a folk hero is that you don't focus on the
Yeah,
sure.
A folk hero, he eats 1 million flapjacks every morning. We don't talk about the fact that he owns people who help him with the logging.
Right, right. So yeah, I think part of it is that we as a country have really kind of fought back against kind of that fantasy aspect of our own history. And yeah, it's a little sad that we've lost track of some of that really cool shit that we used to have.
Because especially like
But
I've studied folklore from around the country, and then I'm like, I really don't read a lot of American folklore at all anymore. Like it's all based in like Europe and Africa. And it's very rare. Like if it's North American, it's usually Canadian folklore.
you know where
that
it's
I'm
actually
focusing
gone,
on.
and this is gonna make you want to just throw up and like kick somebody off a bridge. But really, what this has turned into is things like the creepypasta movie.
Yeah, I was thinking
Like,
that exact thing.
you know, like it is dudes online now sharing it. That's also part of the reason why we've lost some of the Americanness of it, is because it's become very worldwide.
Mhm.
You know, like there's a kind of an aspect now of folklore stories to not be bound by nation and bound by place, you know, especially because a lot of this stuff happens on the web. Like that's where a lot of the folklore. Yeah, it's fucking it's a weird time, man.
Yeah, it's just something that like, and it did. I wasn't presented with it until I watched Tall Tale, and then I watched the first episode of Recess, and I
Yeah.
freaking love Recess. I want to sit down and just go through that
Did you know
show.
There were 3 Recess movies. I didn't realize there were.
There's
3.
not 3 Recess movies. There's 1 Recess movie, and then there are 2 clip shows that have a new framing device. So there's Recess All Growed Down, where they're in kindergarten, and it's like the new stuff is them as kindergartners, but it's framed by stuff that already existed from the show. And then there's Taking the Fifth Grade, which is they're going into 5th grade and they reminisce about stuff that happened to them in 4th grade. I know, because I own all of them.
They're fantastic.
They're fun, but it's just one of those. I mean, Robert Goulet as Mikey's singing voice is still one of the best. And the movie is really interesting in that whole way that the movie always takes it to a level,
Yeah.
you know, where like
It was yeah.
this was grounded in reality, and then you have a mad scientist trying to eliminate the summer.
Yeah,
Like
for
that's
sure.
your plot.
Well, you know, with the other Disney original like Saturday morning cartoon that got a fucking movie release that I'll never understand how or why, but it works because of the bizarre world of it, is Teacher's Pet. Do you remember that?
I love the Teacher's Pet movie. First of all, I love the show Teacher's Pet, but the movie is incredible.
It's like how did it start with the movie and then it worked into the show? Or
No,
was
it
the show
started
first?
as a show,
That's
and then it was so popular that they gave it a movie.
It
And
was
the
Jason
movie,
Alexander the whole time, though, right?
it was Nathan Lane the whole time.
Nathan.
Jason
I thought it was
Alexander
Jason-
was abysmal in Return of
Oh.
Jafar, and he also reprised his role in the Aladdin series, which is also not on Disney Plus. Which that breaks my balls. I love the Aladdin series. That's where all of my love for the Aladdin comes from. Is
They got
that
Hercules,
is that series?
And they got Emperor's New Groove. What is the show's name?
Emperor's New School?
Oh, right.
Yeah. No, I mean they exist. I'm
Yeah,
sure
I
there's
know.
also
Not a
the
lot.
weird episode where Recess crosses over with Lilo and Stitch, and that just makes me uncomfortable.
The animation styles. Anyway.
No, not because of the animation styles, but because I guess aliens now exist in the Recess universe.
I think we always knew that.
But yeah, so and the other thing, I did Goof Troop. After we beat Goof Troop, I watched the first episode of Goof Troop and didn't realize how much set building is in that episode. It's incredible. And then I watched Disney's Doug because I read an article. I watched it first, and then I read an article that just like made me want to bash my head into the wall. Like,
Yeah.
why is Doug on Disney Plus?
Okay.
And the best comment, the first comment out in that article was, anyone who grew up in the 90s knows this. Like,
Who did you write this for?
yeah, exactly. The target audience, there isn't a bunch of kids who like love Doug and know him as a Nickelodeon character who are
I
like,
didn't also know that. Yeah.
that this happened. Like, it was crazy. And that I'd like to finally watch Doug's first movie with the nematode.
The nematode.
Yeah,
Man.
like
It's a good film. I remember it being perfectly acceptable when I saw it at the cheap theater, and I was like, 12, 11 when it came out. I was like, I don't hate this movie one bit.
Yeah, I mean it's good. Doug's a fun little universe. It's just that first episode of Disney's Doug, because of all the changes and
Right.
Doug having to like explain them, is just like this episode feels like it's 7 hours long. We're rewriting all of the canon.
Yeah, yeah.
So I mean, like, don't be surprised when Disney's like, we're deleting all the Star Wars canon, because it's what they did with Doug.
Yeah, man. We should have seen it coming. They did it with Doug, and now they're gonna fucking do it with Marvel and Star Wars and everything else we love.
I am excited for
Simpsons.
the Marvel shows. I am so excited for the Marvel shows.
I know. It's gonna be a good time.
I'm
Yeah.
excited,
So Disney Plus, man, don't hate it. Like as much as I've got some real issues with some of the like bones of it, I think it's got a lot of good meat on it still.
Excellent. And I'm going to say, because I was a huge detractor on Disney Plus, it has been grossly misrepresented that the crows and the roustabouts have been deleted from Dumbo. That whole report was speaking of the remake of Dumbo released in 2019, saying that these less than favorable depictions have been written out of the remake. So you don't need to worry about that if you're taking your kid to see it. But they are intact in the version of Dumbo on Disney Plus. And also, this is because my mother came to me. I have not yet confirmed or denied it, but she heard that the Siamese cats were removed from Lady and the Tramp. By all accounts, they don't appear in the live action remake of Lady and the Tramp,
Which makes sense.
but they are represented in the original thing, because Disney has like gone out of its way to be like, this is what the times were like.
yeah,
please
they're doing the
understand
WB
that.
thing, which is really smart. They've put
What
the title
did
card
we
up.
watch? What WB thing did we watch where we found out about that whole thing? Like
Was it Looney Tunes Back in Action, and we had just done some.
we had
it was
just
even
done some
further back than
research.
that.
It was before that. I just remember because someone's like, I kind of like how Disney's approaching it, and I'm like, you know who really nailed it though is WB. I need to give Warner Brothers all of the praise in the world for that opening disclaimer.
Yeah,
Because it's like,
I mean, it set a really good precedent.
yeah, which like Disney is just like, oh, we can do this in one sentence, and that's why people are talking about it.
Yeah.
Because no, there's a lot more than just one sentence to talk about some of the stuff you're gonna see that don't fly in 2019. But you need to understand, it was the time.
Yeah, yeah.
But yeah, anything else that you'd like to add? I think it's sun's getting real low, big guy. So
Don't do that to me. Yeah, man, I just really enjoying the Disney Plus stuff. I'm excited about that. Still trying to figure out where we're, buying in on some Pokemon stuffs. Not there yet. I just like, I've heard a lot of people giving up on the game this week. I don't know. So
I'm probably gonna finish it this week. That's my. I'm 3 badges away, and
that surprises
I am, like,
me more
set.
than like Dale or Zach. Like I just fully expect them to be invested in no matter what. I don't know if I can care to invest myself yet, but we'll see.
I
We'll
get
see.
that though. I mean, when's the last time you played a Pokemon game? True say.
Oh, we've talked about this. I think not since like Red and Blue.
Yeah,
Like that.
okay.
I have not put much time into the Poke universe. And this one got so close to really hooking me, and then some stuff that kind of happened right at the last minute kind of really turned me off and made me realize I was gonna wait and see how things went. Yeah, I don't know, man. But other than that, nothing else.
Cool.
This week is good.
So I'm just gonna say we'll save it for that. I saw what is probably the first real award contender film,
Nice.
and that was Ford v Ferrari. I highly recommend it, but I'll give it another week before I talk about it at any sort of length. But what I will say is I forgot that it was Matt Damon. So like, I hope he gets a nomination for Best Actor. Because
Nice.
he's Matt friggin' Damon. He's not the kind of person that you just forget it's him on screen.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. No,
That's
he's not the kind of guy
the
that
selling
disappears into a
point is
role
that
this
it's
week,
Matt
man.
Damon.
Uh-huh.
You don't go to see him. Yeah. So I really, really liked it, and I highly recommend it. And I say that, but like Jojo Rabbit also probably going to have some award season legs. Ford v Ferrari felt like it was engineered to appeal to the Academy.
Yeah, no, I agree. It's the first like Oscar bait movie. I think is like the impolite way of putting it. But yeah, there it is.
Yeah. All right. So that's it. We can go deep on that. Check all this stuff out. Please check out The Birch. I know that it's got 320,000 followers on Facebook, but I want to recommend it because it's crazy.
It's a little creepy.
Crazy.
It also it's funny that you said the creepy pasta stuff at the beginning because it also made me think a lot of that Channel Zero that I had watched and gushed about too. Yeah, it hits a lot of the right notes. It does a really good job.
Yeah. And that's just one episode he's basing it on. I am telling you, it gets better.
That's awesome.
Will, oh no, if you want to talk to me about The Birch, you can find me on Twitter at Devin D. Decker.
Yep, and if you want to hit me up to talk to me about more issues that you're having with Disney and about how I'm all wrong and that it's going to fall to pieces, you can catch me at Siege versus the World.
All right, so let's send it over to our own Mandalorian. Willie, take us home.
Thank you for listening to the Say Report with your host Devin Decker and Stephen Serwick. Please follow the guys on Twitter and Facebook by searching for The Say Report, and you can always subscribe on your podcast channel so this is delivered straight to you and you can enjoy it every week. With apologies to your mother, we'll see you next time.